Hello, everyone. Philip Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is the 10th of January, 2022. And today what we're going to talk about is what kind of influence the South really had on the federal government before Lincoln was elected president. That's common amongst modern day historians to claim that the South controlled the federal government during this period. So we're going to look at that and analyze that. Click on the subscribe button here in the lower right if you want to subscribe to my show, and also click on the notification bell in the far upper right to be notified when new episodes come out. So let me go ahead and get started with the topic for today. Who controlled the antebellum federal government? Modern historians routinely and falsely claim that the South controlled the federal government until 1860, which is when Lincoln was elected. Many Northerners, including Lincoln, trumpeted a mythological slave power conspiracy to impose slavery on the entire country. In truth, the planter class that allegedly led this conspiracy did not dictate Southern politics and did not even share uniform political beliefs among themselves. Like Confederate Vice President Alexander Stephens, for example, many of the largest slaveholders opposed secession. By the 1850s, according to historian Frank Owsley, quote, whatever influence the planters exercised over the political action of the common people was of a personal and local nature, close quote. In his Jefferson Davis biography, William Cooper writes, quote, white manhood suffrage had existed in Mississippi since 1832, and the sovereign voters required wooing and intermingling from their prospective office holders. This was emphatically not a political world in which the rich planters controlled candidates and elections while sipping sherry and juleps in elegant drawing rooms, close quote. Property qualifications for voting had been abolished in all Southern states except Virginia, North Carolina, and Louisiana. Ditto for office holding requirements except for South Carolina and Louisiana. During the 1850s, constitutional reforms in 7 of the Southern states abolished almost all of the remaining aristocratic privileges, except those in South Carolina. If the South truly controlled the federal government until 1860, Michael Griffith wonders, quote, why the federal tariff was never as low as the South wanted it to be, why Congress gave the northern states a legal monopoly in the lucrative shipbuilding business, and why this monopoly was never repealed, why it took 10 years for Texas to be admitted as a state, why Cuba was never annexed, how the Tariff of Abominations passed Congress in 1828, how the Tariff Act of 1842 passed Congress at all, how the Wilmot Proviso passed the House of Representatives twice, why Kansas wasn't admitted as a slave state, why the Missouri Compromise line wasn't extended to the West Coast, and how the Morrill Tariff passed the House in 1860. All of these things happened. And if the South controlled the federal government, none of them would have happened. Or all of these points are valid. At no time did the South control the federal government in terms of doing whatever it wanted. After mid-1854, no Southern bill had any chance of winning a congressional majority. The South was usually able to block or modify unwanted bills in the Senate, but not always, and she was frequently unable to defeat unwanted bills in the House. By 1819, the North had built up a decisive majority in the House of Representatives that it never lost. Of the 15 presidents before Lincoln, 8 were Southerners and 7 were Northerners. So if you include Lincoln, it was an eight split, 8-8. When the South did exercise, this is an important point, when the South did exercise considerable influence on federal policy, it worked to reduce taxes, to limit the growth of the federal government, to curb or eliminate harmful protectionist trade policies, to impose fiscal responsibility on federal spending, to oppose a national banking system, to prohibit the use of tax dollars for wasteful corporate welfare schemes, to expand the land area of the United States by acquiring new territory, to preserve the sovereignty of the states, and to enforce a strict interpretation of the Constitution. It was under Southern leadership that the vast Louisiana Territory became American land, that Texas was finally admitted to the Union, and that the Mexican cession, including the all-powerful state of California, became American territory. Now think about this. Without Southern presidents, America's western border today would be the Mississippi River, and our economic power would be significantly reduced and probably be rivaled by a neighbor directly to our west, maybe controlled by Spain or France or possibly even Great Britain. After the free states gained their 58% majority of the House of Representatives in 1820, they increased it to 63% by 1860 when Lincoln was elected. Moreover, after taking a simple arithmetic majority in the House and the Senate in 1850, the free states increased it to a 55% majority by 1860. As for the charge that Southerners controlled the antebellum Supreme Court, it should be noted that the court only twice made important decisions regarding slavery over that 70-year period from the founding to 1860. Only twice did it make such decisions. One was the 1850 Dred Scott decision that favored slaveholders by allowing them to take their slaves into federal territories, which were commonly owned by all people of the United States. And that was the reason for enabling them to do that. The second decision was the 1842 Prigg decision that enabled the free states to avoid their 1789 constitutional responsibility to return fugitive slaves. That is in the 1789 Constitution, that they have to return those slaves, those fugitive slaves. The Prigg decision gave them an escape hatch, and they used it. So the bill necessitated a new federal law to enforce the Fugitive Slave Act. And that federal law, the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act, was one that got passed as part of the Compromise of 1850, and Northerners mostly ignored it anyway. So that's our case on what really happened, who really controlled the federal government before the Civil War. I want to encourage you, if you'd like to learn more about, in this case, Reconstruction, my book, Southern Reconstruction, which is actually my bestseller, and therefore I don't discuss it much, was something that takes a look at what happened during Reconstruction, that takes out the political correctness and all the propaganda that has come down during the postbellum era by the victors. Southern Reconstruction by Philip Lee, available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. I think it's $28 there. Just Philip Lee, L-E-I-G-H, Southern Reconstruction. Okay, now if you like my books, if you like them, give them 5 stars on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you give these ratings, because it really helps us. We don't have a university behind us to help promote our books, so doing that is, we need your help. Your help is a big deal for us. So take that step. Give us a 5-star rating if you like our books. Okay, that's our show for today, and we'll see you next time.